This is the fastest and probably the most beautiful PC that's been on this desk. This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. I especially had good luck unlocking content while I was traveling in China and keeping myself safe from hackers and stuff because, you don't want to be on unencrypted Wi-Fi networks at hotels and coffee shops. That's just asking to get your password stolen. VPN reroutes your connection to one of their secured servers and encrypts everything you do so nobody can see what you're doing online. It's like sending a postcard through the mail versus sending a letter through the mail that's sealed where no one can read the contents. In UK and Australia, the ISPs are actually required by law to keep logs. How about some content unblocking? So you're in a different country and you want to watch your favorite shows on HBO Go or Netflix or maybe BBC, all the really good stuff. Check this out. Let's go over to Netflix right now. USA, Canada, Rick and Morty, can't have it. But if you connect to the UK server with ExpressVPN, now I can watch Rick and Morty right on Netflix, no problem. We just bypassed that archaic, ridiculous content block. Now, one of the main reasons ExpressVPN is one of the VPNs that I personally use is because they are consistently faster than a lot of the other VPNs out there. Plus, since thousands of people connect to their servers and they don't log IP or DNS lookups, there's no chance of anybody finding out what I'm doing online. Even if I'm torrenting, I don't have to worry about any copyright letters because of false positives. And also, a lot of ISPs throttle torrenting. With ExpressVPN, it bypasses that and you'll be able to do it at full speed. They've decided to give our viewers 3 free months. All you have to do is go to expressvpn.com/techsyndicate. The link is in the top of the description. And now that we're all using protection, on to our regularly scheduled program. We've got a pre-built here, and it's not just any pre-built. This is the MAINGEAR VYBE. And the VYBE is sort of a special pre-built computer for a few different reasons. First off, this chassis, you can buy this separately. It's a really elegant and clean chassis with some very nice design elements, and they've created this. They work together with BitsPower to create a very cool custom channel system here for water cooling. And this is an optional feature, but if you get this, it's actually probably cheaper to get it in this pre-built form than it would be if you were to go out and buy all the pieces separately. I was pricing them out. It's $500 for this for the CPU, and then $200 to add on the water cooling for your GPU. But this system, if you were to go out and piece it together separately, you're going to end up paying about that, if not a little more, depending on the fittings that you go with. And this one comes with the Hardline tubing, so they've gone all out and just really tricked this out so they can show you all of the different options that you can get. So you can build the same system, give or take, a huge chunk of change depending on the customizations that you want. But you can get like pretty much the same speed and go with some different options. But we're going to look at this as they sent it. So first off, this acrylic piece right here that's going to act as your reservoir. Now, normally this is something that was reserved for people who had CNC mills or people who are extremely serious about modding, right? And they have a nice silent BitsPower pump on the back of the reservoir, just attached right there, the liquid moving through here. And they've got a few different options as far as the color goes, and this one's obviously with the red. Now you've got a couple different spots here. You've got a spot on the bottom if you want to drain this and maybe change anything out, or replace the color or move some components around inside. You can drain on the bottom and then refill on the top. It's nice to have these really easy spots here to do that. Above and beyond that, we have really clean work here with these hard tubes going to the CPU and also to the GPU. If you're someone who's like a first time and never done this before and you're a little intimidated, you can just get it. You'll be able to, receive the benefits that people are getting, especially when it comes to the GPU. The temperature on the GPU was really low, and I'll get to that when we get into the benchmarks in just a second. On the front of the case, extremely sleek with a minimal monolithic footprint and the MAINGEAR logo that glows in the front. And then on the side of the front, if you're sitting in front of this, it'll be on your left side of the front. We got your power button right here that will light up when you turn it on. We got USB Type-C and then 3 USB ports. And then below that, we've got a microphone and also a headphone jack. We got 2 slots on the top that have mesh on here, and that's going to be so that the air can exhaust out of the top for the water cooling. On the side, we have a nice big acrylic window with some darkened areas around so that it looks nice and sleek. One other thing of note is that this case can support a vertical GPU. There's a spot right here for it, so you can mount it and put it right there by the window if you wanted that as an option. I think a lot of people are just going to go with the water cooling, but I'm curious what you would go with. Would you go with the mounted GPU or would you go with the water cooling? All right, above and beyond that, we do have RGB, and that's going to be controlled by the motherboard. They sent me a remote. There's a remote in the box. So I got it out and I was pressing the remote button over and over and over again, being like, why does this not work? What's going on here? I installed, some of the software that you can get with the motherboard, and RGB works fine like that. But I was like, why can't it work? So I emailed them and I was like, hey, why does the remote not work? And they're like, oh, that's disabled by default because a lot of people are just going to use the motherboard. I wish they put a little note in there because I literally spent like an hour thinking that the remote was broken, taking out the battery and stuff and being like, what is wrong with this thing? So I think some other people may go through that same thing, and it might be cool if they just put a little note on the back of the remote saying like, disabled by default, use the software from the motherboard, or go in and change. There's a hardware setting that you can go in and change to make the remote work. All right, now we have 2 radiators in here, and that'll help to bring down the sound because you'll have more surface area for the water to pass through and cool down, and your fans will be able to run a little bit lower. If you want to adjust the fans right now while we're talking about this, you're going to need to go into the UEFI on the motherboard, depending on the motherboard that you go with, but this one has the Aorus X570 Ultra. So just go into the UEFI and you can control all your fan settings right there. So that's what I did and brought the noise down a little bit. But with this many fans and them also not being like super silent fans, I mean, they're pretty quiet, but they're not like extremely whisper quiet. When it was on full load, it was running in the mid 50s as far as the decibel rating goes from a couple feet away. I like to measure like a little bit away from the actual system because that's where you're going to be sitting. You're not going to be sitting inside the system, right? And then when it's at idle, it's running in the low 40s, so not too loud. I've also got 2 sticks of the Kingston HyperX memory in there with full-on RGB, and that can be controlled by the motherboard. It is 3200 speed memory, and 32 gigabytes is enough for most people. But for people who are buying this and they want to do like heavy duty, video editing, heavy duty 3D stuff, you might want to go with this, with 64. So that's going to be completely up to you. But since they've only populated 2 of the RAM slots, you can always upgrade that on your own later. Now for the CPU, it's got the big one, the AMD 3950X, 16 cores, 32 threads of ridiculosity. And then the GPU is the Nvidia 2080 Ti. They've gone with all the bells and whistles you can see right there. We have our individually sleeved cables. That's an extra little bonus that you can opt for if you like, if you want that extra premium look. Everything is tucked away impeccably on the front and the back. In fact, for my taste, it is too well managed. These cables are too well managed because if I want to change things, I'm going to have to unmanage the cables, and I like to change a lot of different things. With a system like this, I'm not going to really touch it. Speaking of changing things, they have included a lot of different pieces that you can pull out of the box. They've included the rest of the cables for the power supply, which is a modular 850 watt EVGA power supply that's down here on the bottom. We've got all kinds of things. We even have, look at this, we've even got extra tubes and stuff they've included in here, some extra sleeved cables if you want to install things. They've been giving us the whole set of individually sleeved cables. Just, you've got pretty much a whole bunch of stuff to go in and mess with things, add things, change things around, but they did not include the original cooling unit that was on the GPU. So if you ever wanted to take that out and use it in another system, you're going to have to figure out some sort of a cooling solution. I imagine you can email them and be like, please, could you throw the cooling unit in the box? Because everything was, impeccably packaged, and they seem to be really cool with working with you. So I would imagine that would be cool, but don't take my word for that. I don't know. Plenty of fans in here. We've got fans in the front, fans on top, fan in the back, fans on all the radiators, of course. So there's going to be lots of airflow. It comes in from the front and it exhausts through the top and the back. And the thermals, the entire time I was using this, were very nice. That probably has to do a little bit with that fancy cooling unit on there. Now again, one more thing about this acrylic channel right here. This really is something you don't only see for modders and stuff. I know Bits Power and a few other companies are now finally starting to sell kits where this becomes your reservoir and you can buy them, but they're few and far between in the market right now, so it's nice to have it all right here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some benchmarks for this. I did a test, first off, productivity. This versus my current PC, which is an 8700K Intel machine. And that one's got a 2080. I rendered a project in Premiere just to see what the difference was going to be. Project had a lot of cuts and just a few transitions and that sort of thing. It's kind of ironic. It was a old Windows XP machine rendering that project. It's a long project. It took 34 minutes and 5 seconds to do an H.264 render at 4K on the Intel 8700K. And then over here on the AMD 3950X, 16 minutes and 51 seconds. It's almost twice as fast, which is kind of what I expected because it's 16 cores, 32 threads. But just a ridiculous jump up in speed. And I have not installed the Unreal Engine on here yet. And it's a huge hassle to move the entire project onto this, like hours of work, getting it all set up and ready to go. But I imagine doing builds and stuff on this are going to be ridiculously fast. So if this ends up staying around as a dev rig, I will do another video showing how fast the Unreal Engine can be on this machine. But for now, we're not going to go into all that. All right, I want to gripe just a little bit about the storage that's in here because there's different options that you can pick from. I would recommend picking like a PCI Express Gen 4 as your main, just your operating system drive, and then something fast as your secondary drive. But as it's configured, they've kind of skimped a little bit. Now there's one of the Intel M.2 in here as the main drive. That's sort of a middle-of-the-road PCI Express Gen 3 M.2. It's not extremely fast, it's not extremely slow, but I mean, it's going to be a hell of a lot snappier than an SSD, but still there are far faster options, and in a beast of a computer like this, I would not have configured it this way. And if it sticks around, I'm going to swap that out so fast. It'll be the only thing that I swap out, or one of the only things that I swap out of here. They've included a 2 terabyte Western Digital 5400 speed drive, and that's going to be for storage. It's fast enough to play games on, but it's not something I would put in a super performant system like this. I would go all out with maybe some of these Sabrent 8 terabyte ridiculously fast drives. That's going to bring the price well up over $6,000 if you put something like that in here. But I need copious amounts of data, and I need it fast. So next up, I want to look at Cinebench. It was done before I even was able to turn around. It's so fast, and you guys can see the score on the screen right there. Only thing that really beats this are some of the gazillion-dollar Xeons that have 1,000 cores and stuff like that. But yeah, it's super fast. Now let's get into some gaming benchmarks, because I think a lot of people are going to be playing games on this. I can't imagine getting this and not playing games with the GPU like that. First thing I wanted to look at was 4K optimized version of superposition to see like how it handles all the physics and everything. And you can see the results on the screen. Did a really good job, obviously, averaging out at 90.75 FPS. All right, let's take a look at Battlefield maxed out at 4K with RTX turned on. A very playable 53.2 FPS. So if fidelity is your main concern, then you can turn it all the way up. If you want a little boost, you can either turn RTX off and get well over 100 FPS, or you can just run it at 1440p, which I think a lot of you will be doing, and that will also give you a big jump in performance. All right, Control is a very demanding game, as you can see. At 4K with RTX turned on and everything at max, we're crawling along at 27.2 FPS with a 1% low of 6.4 FPS. If you move down to 1440p, running at the max, it's actually very playable. You can see the 1% lows there at only 49.2, and this is a game that I don't feel like you need to have an extremely high FPS. It's not super twitchy, I guess. So I feel like this is a good way to play it, in my opinion. But if you also have a 1080p screen, you can see there maxed out with RTX turned on. Very respectable performance. And also one thing I want to note is 4K and 1440p look really good with the RTX medium setting. And that'll give you a big jump in performance if you're looking for just a few more FPS. Doom Eternal, of course, that's Vulkan, just to give you an idea of that performance. At 4K maxed out, the game is extremely playable. 1% low is 105.2, and the average is 127.3. So yeah, it's running nice. 1080p, 298.7. How is this game so optimized, and how does it look so good? It's ridiculous. But also the system is pretty beefy. Shadow of the Tomb Raider running at 4K with RTX on, that's exactly how I would play this because the average is 92.3. That is very smooth. 1% low is above 60. It's extremely smooth. So no need to test that one further. It's going to be great at all resolutions. The Witcher 3 at 4K maxed out is also buttery smooth and very playable. Highly recommend playing it at this resolution in these settings. 71.3. You can change a few of the filters if you want a few more FPS, but even the 1% low is great. If you want some extreme frames, well, then put it on 1080p. 138.6 FPS average. Looking good. All right, 1440p is probably how a lot of you are going to be playing this. And as you can see, extremely respectable performance. It never drops below 100. So this is an absolute unit. Now let's talk about the price, because I know a lot of you are system builders in the audience, and you're probably showing up just to say,
I'd rather build my own system.
Well, that's fine. And I appreciate your comment, and I see you, and I know you're very smart and you can build your own system, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, is there value in a pre-built, especially one like this? Well, one thing I'll say, and this is something that a lot of manufacturers of pre-built computers do. They load it up with bloatware. This computer came exactly the way I would build it myself. It just came naked. There was nothing. Like nothing. Not even the motherboard software, not even the RGB software. I had to install that myself. I had to go to Oros's website and grab that from Gigabyte Oros and install it myself. There was no bloatware. Thank you very much, MAINGEAR, for that. Above and beyond that, the custom water cooling setup and having it all put together for you, that's something that you're gonna have to ask yourself, like, is this something I really want and something I really need? When you compare the price to this, and I compared it to some of the other big custom system builders out there, with the water cooling unit, it's extremely competitive. I saw some of them that were getting close to this price with just a standard all-in-one unit, like a Corsair or a Cooler Master or something just mounted in there. So having this custom setup is, I think, extremely impressive at the price. Now, you are going to save yourself a chunk of change if you build everything on your own. And that's, I think, a different audience. Being able to get everything perfect like this, that's going to be something that, hey, there's a few of you who can do that, and that's fine. But there's also some people who are willing to pay the price and grab it this way. For me, it's kind of a back and forth between, like, okay, if I had, if I have enough money, or if I want to do like monthly payments or something like that on a system that's going to make me money, and because I'm going to be working with this system and making a game and doing whatever else it is that I'm doing that's creative, that's going to be making me income, maybe it's a good investment. And also the time that I'll save on worrying about all this. If it's a hobby and you're putting together fittings and stuff, that's one thing. But if you just want something that's really cool and works, then that's another thing entirely. So it's going to be a back and forth. Yes, you do pay a premium when it comes to these custom built machines like this, but it's worth it to some people and not worth it to others. And that's going to be something you'll have to talk about. For me, like I said, if I can take time off of fussing with this, get a system that's really cool, nice and quiet and clean like this one, and then spend all that time I would have spent fussing with this, working on a game or something, it might be worth it to me. So that's how I kind of feel at this point. But I'm also someone who knows how to build and can build things quickly. So I'm in two different camps at the same time. I might build, I might use something like this, just depending on the circumstances. All right, so I wanted to test out the CPU and see how well it's being cooled. And I ran 8 to 64 for about 20 to 25 minutes, just on full stress test. The maximum it got up to was 79. Now this is rated to go all the way up to 95, so 79 is a pretty decent score, but it only peaked there a couple times. I noticed most of the time it was staying in the mid to low 70s, and then every once in a while it would go up, and then the fans, I had the fans set to only ramp up when it gets really hot, because I like a little more silence. So when it ramped up, the fans would kick on and it would come back down. So the system's actually capable of keeping it cooler, but I wanted to do something more realistic, because you're not going to run the fans at 100% all the time. But there's that. Now, let's talk about that GPU. During all the benchmarks, I was using MSI Afterburner. The maximum temperature that it ever got to was 49 degrees. That is ridiculously low for a 2080 Ti. That's ridiculous in my opinion. So you have a lot of overhead for overclocking with that GPU, or you could just, run it nice and cool and be happy, which is what I think I'm going to do, because I've already got enough frames. I got plenty of frames. If you're crazy and you want more, go for it. So all in all, this is an extremely ridiculous computer, of course. It's really beautiful. I mean, just look at it. It's hard to argue with that point, right? Now, is it something for you? Maybe. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. For me, they want me to ship this back, but I'm thinking about moving to Canada and smuggling this with me, because then I can just use it. It's so much faster than the computer I'm currently using to work on the game. So this would be a huge upgrade to my productivity, and they're going to have to fight me to get this one back. They'll probably win because they own it, but I don't want to give it back. If you have any questions, just hop in the comments and I will check those out. Also, head over to epicpants.com, grab yourself a t-shirt or a gaming mouse or something while you're over there, and I'll see you in the comments.